So, as you know, according to Freud, whenever one has a series of ideas, those ideas are associatively linked. In other words, even though those ideas may appear to have no connections to each other, given only their surface contents, they are in fact related to each other via unconscious associations on the part of the person who is having those ideas. Unconscious associations generally of a personal nature. And I certainly agree with Freud, but here is what I have found, which is that what I've noticed when I make a series of podcasts in a given day is that there are, in fact, logical, objective relations holding among the contents of the podcasts. In other words, even though the topic, suppose I make 5 podcasts in a given day, it may be that given only that at first sight, the topic of any given one of those 5 podcasts has no objective relation to the topic of any of the other 4 podcasts. But upon inspection, it turns out that there are, in fact, objective, real. In other words, they do not have to do with my subjectivity. They do not have to do with my personal experiences or my own peculiarities. There are, in fact, objective relations of logic or of historical fact or some such holding among those various topics. And this is not to say that Freud is wrong. It is not to say that there are not also associations of a purely subjective kind. What I think is going on is, and here I'm going to use another term that Freud very appropriately brought into prominence and that he did a lot to cultivate, he's the concept corresponding which he did a lot to cultivate. But what I think is going on is that the series of ideas is driven both by recognition on the part on the subject's part of objective logical relations holding among the ideas in question, and also by ideas of a purely subjective kind. So the idea sequence selection, as it were, is overdetermined. And one of the determinants is primary process, meaning that it has to do with purely associative, subjective connections drawn by the thinker, by the subject, and the other is secondary process, meaning that it has to do with objective relations of logic or empirical fact holding among the ideas in question.